Good morning to everyone at today's public hearing of the Prosecutor Vetting Commission. My name is Christopher Lehman, the chairperson of the commission, and I declare this session to be open. Our commission is established under Law 252 on the external evaluation of judges and prosecutors. Under Article 22, paragraph 13 of that law, it provides that this commission will assess candidates for the Superior Council of Prosecutors Discipline and Ethics Board according to the procedures and criteria regulated by Law Number 26 of 2022 on the measures related to the selection of candidates for the position of members in the self-administration bodies of the prosecutors. The hearing is also being conducted under the Commission's Rules of Procedure for evaluation under Law 26 of 2022. The subject of today's hearing is Iancu Zaporojan, a candidate for the Superior Council of Prosecutors Discipline and Ethics Board. Mr. Zaporojan, welcome to the hearing today. I am joined by my colleagues from my far left, Nadezhda Hrytievsky, to my second left, Ermantas Mikalonis, to my immediate left, the Vice Chairman of the Commission, Virginia Mararu, to my, I'm sorry, that was all to my right. It's early in the morning. To my left is Cornel Lebedinsky, and to my immediate left is Saskia de Vries. The commission is also assisted by members of our secretariat. The hearing is open to the public and members of the media. The hearing will be conducted in interpretation into both Romanian and English, and for the benefit of the interpreters, I would encourage you to speak slowly and clearly when you're answering questions. These proceedings are being recorded. The recording of the Commission's public hearings will be available on our website within 3 days after the hearing. Mr. Zaporojan, during the hearing, one or more members of the Commission will ask questions to you. I would ask you to answer them truthfully and completely. Your explanations are very important to the Commission in verifying your financial and ethical integrity. In formulating our questions, we'll take into account your privacy where required and possible, the privacy of your family members and close persons. That means we'll leave out unnecessary details with regards to bank account numbers or street addresses, ID numbers, and the like. And for your protection in answering the questions, we would advise you to do the same. At the end of the hearing, we'll provide time for you to make a closing statement. I'll start by briefly reviewing the evaluation process for Mr. Zaporojan. The Commission initiated its evaluation process on the 22nd of December 2023 by notifying the candidate by email and asking him to complete and return the ethics questionnaire and a financial disclosure form, declaration form. The candidate returned the completed questionnaire and declaration on the 29th of December 2023. As part of evaluating our subject's ethical and financial integrity, the Commission also obtained information from many other sources, such as the National Integrity Authority, the State Fiscal Service, the General Inspectorate of the Border Police, as well as other public institutions, financial institutions, and open source information. The Commission also assesses information it obtains from these sources for relevance and reliability. The Commission also sent you 3 rounds of questions on the 3rd of July, 2024, the 19th of August, 2024, and the 1st of October, 2024, of which you responded to all. On the 19th of November of this year, the Commission invited you to attend today's hearing. At that time, we notified you of the specific topics that would be addressed today at the hearing. Mr. Zaporojan, thank you again for appearing today. I will begin with a couple of questions to you, and I'll ask you to respond in a complete and truthful manner. The first question is simply if you wish to make any additions or corrections at this time to the answers that you have provided to the Commission in our request for information.
Nothing to add and nothing to rectify.
Sorry.
I have nothing to add, nothing to address, nothing to rectify.
Yeah. And the second question is whether your answers that were provided in the 5-year declaration and the ethics questionnaire that you sent in to us on the 29th of December 2023, do those remain accurate as of today?
Yes, they are correct.
Thank you. That means, at this point, I will give the floor to my colleague Virginia Marraro for additional questioning.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Zaporojan. Welcome to these hearings. Now you can take your headphones off. But I would like to speak a little bit louder and clearer to make sure that the interpreters can also make out what you say, to interpret that for the international members. And one aspect that I would like to underscore is that everything that we're going to address today at the hearings, these are questions or these are issues, these are matters that have also been highlighted in that invitation whereby you were invited to this hearing. So these are only clarification questions for the Commission to be able to have an objective and fair appraisal of your financial and ethical integrity. These are not accusations against you. The first matter that we're looking at is the failure to declare an inconsistent declaration of different matters regarding income and property in your annual declarations of assets and personal interests and throughout the period that is subject to this evaluation. In looking at the declarations of assets and personal interests that you filed over 2015-2022, it was established that you have not declared several pieces of information, or we've come across certain inconsistencies in terms of these declarations, such as declaring income that de jure you've obtained 2 years later from the day that you've later when you've compared to when you've filed the declaration, and also failure to declare ownership rights over assets. You haven't disclosed the value of those assets. You haven't declared your rights to use certain movable and immovable property. So, in your 2021 annual declaration, you've disclosed some rental income learned out of renting out farmland to a company that is administered by your brother, and that amount is 2,300 lei, and the income earned out of renting out a different land plot, that amounted to 21,765. According to the information system of the STS, this income was registered for you as paid to you in 2023, not in 2021, the one that you've actually declared the income for in your annual declaration. Now, in your answer to the Commission, we've had the written questions and answers, you've mentioned that according to the lessee, in that farming year, the crop year, the crops were compromised partially. He did not have enough crops, enough produce, so he was not able to honor their contractual obligations. So you've agreed that rent would be paid in a different crop year. So the rent payment for 2021 was actually collected by you in 2023, and this was registered as such with the state tax authorities in the income tax returns that you have filed. And it also, on the basis of that you've paid taxes. Do you confirm or deny this? I confirm what I've stated. Can you clarify if you had reached such an agreement with lessee, that is, with regards to the rent for the farmland? Did you agree to pay for that to be paid in a different year? And if you have agreed, why did you declare it like that? We have verbally agreed this, but did you agree that we've agreed that he would pay later? So, de facto and de jure, you have not received the money in 2021. No, it was in 2023. But you've reported as if for 2021. Yes, but that might have been an omission on my part. I wanted to be as sincere as possible to show all my income, but it turned out as it did. Now, that agreement with the lessee, was it in writing or was it verbal? We had a verbal agreement. Do you remember what the agreements provided for? How much you collected? Well, what you stated, there are several land plots. You've mentioned one of them, but there are several land plots in a community that is in the district of Drokia, in the village of Drokia. And then there's another land plot in Mandyk, another village, also the district of Drokia, but these villages are close to one another. Now, moving on. Point B, in 2017, on the 16th of March, you've purchased under sale and purchase agreement number 1835 of that same date 2 plots of farmland with the area of 0.0760 hectares, and the other one is 0.8265 hectares in the village of Drokia, the district of Drokia. Now, this agreement was registered with the cadastre on the 20th of March 2017. In your 2016 annual declaration that you have filed on the 27th of March, that is 1 week after you've registered the agreement, you have not, though, disclosed their ownership, your ownership rights over those plots of land. Do you confirm or deny this? It might have been, things might have happened the way you've stated it, but there is a likelihood that I did not have the contracts with me specifically, and that's why I did not report it in the declaration. I think that's what happened, but I cannot have certainty now. Now, regarding all the matters that we are addressing now, you were also asked about this in the written questions and answers, and in your answers you've told the Commission in those rounds, you stated regarding this agreement, regarding these land plots, that the registration procedures that you've observed, you've complied with the registration procedures only when you have found the time to, that is me quoting you, that you were working and living in Nisporeni, and the registration procedures needed to be performed at the Drokia Public Services Agency, and for that you needed to make an appointment ahead of time, and it was not always that you could get the appointment when you were available given your work duties. And you've also referred to Article 510, Paragraph 2 of the Civil Code for real estates. The ownership right is acquired on the day that it is registered, the asset is registered with the cadastre, which is true. Do you confirm or deny this? I confirm. I continue to stand by that answer. But you signed those contracts, and according to the sale and purchase contracts for these 2 land plots, point 4, item 4 specifically, it says that when the contract is authenticated, the buyer becomes the jure and de facto the one that is possessing and able to use the land plots, and the right of ownership shall be acquired thus by the buyer when specifically that contract is registered with the Territorial Cadastral Office of Drokia. But did the notary go through this contract? Do you remember that experience? Was it read out to you? You are a lawyer with experience. Although I am a law professional, I may have some omissions. Before filling out the annual declarations, including the one for 2016, when you had to file the declarations in line with the new law, did you look over the law? Did you try to make sure that you're observing the law, or at least the instructions, the guidelines regarding how you're supposed to fill out the declarations? I did look at the guidelines. We were also told by the Office of the Prosecutor General how to work around it, but for Moldova, that is apparently a new practice. It's not quite apparently a new practice. Speaking of the system of declaration, that in the law of Moldova, we've been having it since 2002, so it's not that novel a thing. But now and again, or now and then, I and my colleagues would make an omission or two, but that was not with intent. But yes, I did go over the law. How can they then explain the fact that you did not declare the ownership right over a plot of land that you had just bought a few days before you filed the declaration? I had no intention, certainly I did not intend to hide anything. I've always wanted to be transparent. That was, I have set for myself the objective to be transparent, and I've reported it when I did. Now, in 2018, you purchased 4 plots of farmland according to the sale and purchase agreement number 10,468 of the 21st of December 2018, and you've purchased 2 plots of farmland with an area of 0.7403 hectares, and the other one 0.0759 hectares in the village of Drokia, the district of Drokia, and that was registered with the cadastre on the 5th of February 2019. And 2 other plots of land as per Agreement 994 of the 1st of February 2019. So these were also 2 plots of garden land, 0.22 hectares and 0.33 hectares respectively in the village of Drochia, the district of Drochia, registered with the cadastre on the 15th of March 2019. In the annual 2018 declaration filed with the NIA on the 29th of March 2019, these assets have not been disclosed in that chapter for property, real estate property in your declaration. Can you confirm or deny this? Well, if you've arrived at that finding, that is obviously what has happened. Why did you not disclose those 4 land plots? I have the same answer as for the previous question. I've reported that in the next year. I've reported it next year, so that's like a technical mistake that I made. But what is the answer that I provided? In 2019, on the 29th of August 2019, you purchased 2 other land plots as per Agreement 6264, both of them again in the village of Drochia, district of Drochia, with an area of 0.7139 hectares and 0.0759 hectares, registered with the cadastre on the 26th of September 2019. In your 2019 declaration, the one that you filed with the NIA on the 31st of March 2020, with regards to these 2 land plots you've purchased in 2019, that I've just read out, and the 4 that I've previously mentioned, the 4 plots of land that were purchased in 2018 in the village of Drochia, the district of Drochia, with regards to these assets, you did not put down the value of the assets, which is required by law. In your answers to the Commission, you stated that this omission was most likely because of doing things hastily, in a rush, and could you confirm or deny this? And that the value for these assets had been declared for the previous years, that is. Why did you not declare, did not report the value of the assets? Though in the agreements you do have both the cadastral value and the contractual value. Why did not? I can only explain this by a technical error on my behalf. On the 6th of November 2018, by rent agreement number 36, that is the number of the contract, you were granted out of that agreement apartment number 19 in the town of Nesporeni. In the 2018 and 2019 annual declarations, you have not disclosed in that chapter regarding assets, real estate assets in the country and abroad. You have not declared the right to use that apartment. In your answer to the Commission regarding this asset that you had in use, you answered that the apartment was reported in 2018 and 2019 declaration in Chapter 1, domicile, but actually in the 2018 declaration you've actually indicated a different address for your domicile, which is your current domicile address as per the register of Moldovan nationals. Can you confirm or deny this? I confirm it. Why did you not disclose the right to use this apartment, and why did you start reporting it only starting with 2020? The rent agreement, did you say it was 2018? Yes. So it is likely that it was an omission. And if I remember things right, I have sought the advice of a NIA inspector. I explained to them my case, and I've asked where should I report it, and which is what I did in the next years. Several candidates are saying that they're talking to NIA inspectors. So did you call someone by phone, or did you... By phone, there is a hotline that you can call. So you have a managerial position. Did you ever ask, for instance, the NIA directly, or the management of the General Office of the Office of Prosecutor General, when you were a simple prosecutor? Did you raise this issue with your higher, or with your senior, for instance? Did you ask for any counseling from the NIA regarding how declarations are supposed to be filled in? I have not sought such support, but the Office of the Prosecutor General would circulate across the country information on how to fill in those templates the right way. However, I would like to reiterate that I did not do this purposefully with intent. It was just out of haste, out of not knowing, that's how I could explain it, how I could explain that error. when you were filing the declaration, did you peruse the law every time? Because there are certain things that can change, can be amended, and the law on declaration of assets and personal interests, that law has undergone amendments practically every year since it was passed the first time, or some guidelines and regulations passed by the National Integrity Authority. Did you look at that? Did you go over that? I did look over that, but it seems I did not look thoroughly enough, since I made those mistakes. And next item here. According to your answers to the Commission, the first round of written questions over 2010-2019, you had the right of usufruct over an Audi car, 2002, that's the model year 2002, but that was owned by your father in that period of time. In your 2012-2016 annual declarations, you did not declare the right to use that car. In your answers to the Commission, you've stated that over 2010-2019, you've stated that it was mostly you personally using it, but you've declared actually using it, but you haven't actually declared using it in the annual declarations because at that time it wasn't clear, or there was some misunderstanding as to how to fill out the declaration when it came to the movable assets. I confirm this answer, and if I may add to this, I have reported it in that year. When was it? When did you say it was the first time that I reported it? 2017. I remember that if you disclosed it in 2017, if you reported it in 2017, which is what I did, then it's as if, then you report it when you're selling it, or when you stop using it, when you've stopped using it. And for that reason, that's why for that entire period of time, it was like that. I've only reported it once only. You know, I have this feeling, but not only about you, but I have the feeling that most of the declarants are only reading just the beginning of every paragraph of the law on declaration, and they never make it till the end of that particular provision regarding different matters. For instance, Article 4, if we're speaking of movable and immovable property, it was quite explicit and hasn't been amended since 2016 onwards. So the persons referred to in Article 3, that is, the subjects that are supposed to declare, they shall report movable and immovable property of all types owned with right of usufruct, which was your case, right of use, right of habitation, right of superficies, or in the possession of the declarant or members of his her family under contracts of mandate, commission, trust management, as well as contracts of transfer of possession and use, rental, lease, leasing, loan for use on the date of filing the declaration on assets and personal interests. And I think this last part of the sentence is always being somehow looked over, which is for movable and immovable property. Was this not clear enough? The provision of the law is clear enough, but I didn't have a contract or a power of attorney. That was a family relationship for as long as I used that car, but it's not an excuse. I am aware that this was a deviation from what I was supposed to do. And the last matter regarding declaration, but that will also be followed by item 2 of our discussion, that is failure to declare over 2019-2022, including 2023. So 2023-2 is included, though this was not part of the evaluation period. You did not declare in the chapter for immovable assets, or the apartment in Chisinau, and the contract for that is the 12th of November 2019, but this is going to be discussed in greater detail in the next matter that we have prepared. But for now, this was all regarding failures to declare and inconsistencies. I'm looking at my colleagues if they have any additional questions.
Yeah, I have a few. Mr. Zaporojan, we've just gone through quite a few instances where property and other items weren't declared to the NIA. But let me take a really straightforward one, because I'm struggling a little bit. In 2018, December, you bought 2 plots of land near Drokia. And then that was registered in the cadastre on February 5th, 2019. And so it's the very next month, March of 2019, that you would have filled out your declaration for 2018. So I don't understand why you would have not reported on your real estate land that you had just bought. Do you have any explanation for that?
My explanation is, as I've also stated previously, I've reported that next year, and to this day. I have no other explanation for that. It was just an omission on my part. I've overlooked that, and I regret it, and I'm sorry.
Anyone else have any questions on this, on the failures to report under item 1? Okay, continue.
Microphone is off. So the second item, the failure to report an apartment in Chisinau, a future asset, in the annual declarations for 2019-2022 that you have filed with the National Integrity Authority on the 13th of November 2019, you as a buyer have entered into an agreement number 13/11 with regards to an apartment with an area of 52.4 square meters, a future asset, was under the Casa de Locuit project, development project in Chisinau, and the contractual amount, the total one was 34,000 euros. That would be 650 euros per square meters, and you've entered into that agreement with one of the developers in Moldova. According to the declarations of assets and personal interests that you have filed with the NIA for 2019-2023, in the chapter number 7, debt, you've reported several loans taken from banking institutions and a receivable of 30,000 euros to the developer. That is the price that was put down in the agreement that you have entered into. But you did not report any right for that future asset in the annual declarations for the period I've already mentioned in that chapter that is dedicated to this. Can you confirm or deny this? I confirm this. In the written correspondence with the Commission, you were asked about the specific debt, that it was worth 34,060 euros. And you have mentioned in your answer that a part of the amount that was contracted or used by loans, by means of loans taken out, the money was used to pay the installments to the developer for that apartment in Chisinau. They were contracted in 2019, due until 2021, but in fact the last installment, that was your answer, the last installment was paid in July 2024, that is beyond the maturity date. I agree with that. According to item 3.1 of the sale and purchase agreement that you have made available to the Commission, the payment was to be made for that apartment in the following way. The first phase, or rather the first installment, was supposed to be 10,200 euros. That was to be paid on the day that the contract was signed on. The second phase, 13,700 euros, to be paid on the 15th of November 2022, and that information was agreed on already. And the third phase, 10,160 euros, to be paid when the apartment would be taken over by the owner. On the date of the agreement, the value of the asset was 34,060 euros, given the size of the future asset, 52.4 square meters. But according to the cadastral measurements, when the block of flats was declared habitable, the total area was 58.5 square meters, and total amount due was 38,025 euros, and the last payment was 170 euros. Now, in the written correspondence with the Commission, when asked why you have not reported it, you've stated that, and I will quote you now, that you stated that the statement that I have not declared the real estate that you've mentioned, the apartment, I believe that this is wrong, a wrong thing to say. The transaction regarding this apartment took the form of a contract on the sale and purchase of an asset that was under construction. It had not been given a cadastral number yet at the time. That's why the NIA inspector inspector told me to report this in the chapter for debt in the declaration. As for the handover and receipt document entered into by myself and the developer, that had not been signed off yet, because at the time the sale and purchase agreement hadn't been signed yet, because that procedure was going to be scheduled with notary by the representatives of the seller.
I confirm this answer. Could you please tell us, in your opinion, declaring the debt to a construction company under a sale and purchase agreement demonstrates your right over that real estate from what is mentioned in the Declaration of Assets? I don't mean within the meaning of the Civil Code. Madam Virginia, you are making reference to a sale and purchase agreement. That one hasn't been concluded yet. I can provide you now a confirmation of a discussion between me and the representative of that company. Do you mean NIA? No, I mean the construction company. Do you mean that the sale and purchase contract hasn't been signed between me and the construction agency? The contract hasn't been signed yet. I want to clarify. You mean that notary procedures have not been carried out, but did you pay the full price? Yes, I paid in full, and they gave me a statement, an abstract, and we agreed a couple of days ago that between the 1st and the 10th, to the extent possible, we agreed to go to the notary and conclude that contract. So, according to the contract, if I'm not mistaken, this apartment should have been commissioned in 2021, but the construction company, well, got a delay 1 or 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, and that led to this extension of the time. But currently, is the property commissioned? I don't know. I don't have any confirmation, any proof. I believe since we are going to the notary, it must mean that the company is supposed to provide confirmation of the fact that real estate is commissioned. Yeah, but the fact that the contract is not drafted with the notary, it was only signed by you and the representative of a construction company. Does that prove that you are obtaining a real estate item in the future, when that real estate is ready, when it is going to be completed, from a legal standpoint? I am just saying, I'm just telling you exactly how I contracted. I went to Ciocana sector, it's on the road. There were some ads, some trailers, that the real estate is going to be built. It was at the stage of, they were only starting. So I have been waiting for so many years. Mr. Prosecutor, in 2019, what was your work experience by 2019 when you concluded that contract? It must have been 20 years of work for you. So do you want to convince us that you, a prosecutor, just stopped by a ad place and you tried to obtain a real estate? I can confirm that. If you give me permission, I can give you the telephone number of that person, of the boy that was there. And you can get in touch with him, and he can tell you where. It was in Ciocana sector, crossroads of Mircea cel Bătrân and I don't know what other street. But according to the contract that you provided, sale and purchase, signed by you and by the representative of a construction company, under Section 7.1, it is stated that when construction works are over, so the contract will be signed, so it will be received based on a receipt act signed by both, and you haven't signed it yet. No, it hasn't been signed. I can provide you confirmation right now. If you accept, I can show you the last message with the representative of a construction company. According to the data available to the Commission, which are public data taken over from the website of the National Inspectorate for Technical Supervision, the real estate that is that block of flats where the apartment you purchased is located was finished, and it was commissioned according to the request number 789/23 of 24th of January 2023. Are you aware of that? No, I'm not. I am repeating what I am declaring you is very honest. I have nothing to hide, nothing absolutely to hide. I have no reason, I see no reason in hiding anything. According to the information available to the Commission, in 2023 and 2024, payments for gas and electricity were made to that department as follows. Moldova Gas in January 2023, amount of 684 lei, 8th of June 2023, 526 lei, 31st of January 2024, 1,915 lei, 18th of March 2024, 831 lei. And for Premier Energy, that is the electricity provider, two payments, January 2023 and 8th of June 2023, in total amount of around 500 lei. How do you explain these payments? Madam Moraro, no one lives in that apartment. It's not repaired. I never paid 1 leu, not to Premier Energy, not to. I haven't paid for any utilities. I don't know where from you got that data. I only know where that apartment is. I have been there once. I entered the apartment once, only one time. No one lives there. I don't even have the keys. But did you get your evaluation file? No, I didn't have time to look through it, but I'm telling that no one lives there. I have gone there once. I don't even have the keys. Do you believe me? You should believe me. Well, I would like to believe you, but I don't know if that's possible. You should believe me, like, right? Today I'll go to Ciocan, I'll take photos, and I will send the Commission. Mr. Prosecutor, information about payments are official payments. They are not invented by the Commission, and I would like to ask you to look into the evaluation file to make sure that I will look into that, Ms. Virginia, but again, no one lives there, not me, not anyone. I don't mean whether someone lives there. I refer to the fact that you did not declare any right, being the beneficiary of this future asset department. You haven't declared it in your annual declarations in the period 2019 to 2023. That's 4 years. That's the question. Do the Commission members have any other questions?
Thank you. You just mentioned that you have with you on your phone a message from the building company about his apartment. Is that correct?
Da.
Yeah?
Da, exact.
Yes, exactly. Right now.
Could you maybe read it to us?
Sorry, I haven't heard what he said, but
It's in Romanian.
Yeah.
hello, Mr. Iancu. When are we going to the notary? Hello, Miss Olga. Please, if possible, let's schedule it in between 1st and 10th of December 2024. Thank you.
And what's the date of that message?
You can see other messages there. What's the date of the message Virginia is asking? I think he said November 20th. Yes, 20th of November 2024.
Would you be willing to make a print of those messages and send it to the Commission?
Da, cu siguranță.
Yes, sure.
Toate mesajele, toate...
All the messages, all the correspondence with this lady representative, I will send it to you.
Are there any other questions on this matter? No, I think you can proceed. I will just caution, we're at the end of a very long process of evaluation, so if you do have anything else, we need to see it this week. I don't want to wait. We don't have a lot of time to extend deadlines for receipt of information that you need to provide to mitigate any doubts that we have. Thank you.
We will move to issue number 3, obtaining a land plot for construction free of charge in 2011 in Drochia. In the period 1st of November 2005 to 7th of April 2014, you were a prosecutor in Drochia Prosecutor's Office. And according to the information gathered by the Commission, you received for free the right of ownership of a land plot for construction purposes with an area of 0.0545 hectares located in Drochia. You know what land plot I refer to, yes. When analyzing the information, the Commission found that on 12th of September 2008, you filed an application with the local authority of Drochia town, whereby you requested to be allocated a land plot in order to build an individual detached house. You attached to that application information from the Cadastre, certificate number 164 of 12 September 2008, issued by Drochia Territorial Cadastral Office, which mentioned that in the last 5 years you did not have real estate registered. And under decision number 5/16 of 2nd of June 2011 of Drochia City Hall, you were assigned into ownership a land plot for construction in Drochia. And on 4th of June 2016, a couple of years later, title authenticating the ownership of a land plot was issued. Do you confirm it? I do. In your answer to the Commission with respect to this topic, you said that this land plot for construction with that area was assigned to you by the decision of Drochia City Hall number 5/16 of 2nd of June 2011, and you asked for it in order to build a house, which did not happen also because of priorities have shifted. You also mentioned that this land plot was assigned at the request of your former boss, Chief Prosecutor of Drochia Prosecutor's Office. You know about who we are talking. In line with Article 38, Paragraph 1 of Law on Prosecution Service, which provided that in case if a prosecutor does not have housing or needs improvement, the local public authority is obliged within 1 year at most from the appointment of a prosecutor, provide him or her with housing, service housing, for the duration when he/she works in that community. Do you confirm it? Yes. In your request filed with Drochia City Hall on the 12th of September 2008, you mentioned that, firstly, you request assignment of a land plot for construction of a private house. Secondly, that you've been living in Drochia since 1997 and you have been working in Drochia since 2005. That my family consists on blank people, no number is mentioned there. And third point, in the last 5 years after marriage, my wife and I have not owned any dwelling, and I am aware of the regulations on assignment of land plots. Do you confirm? Is that what I signed at the City Hall? Yes, this is the request that you signed. Well, if it's signed and you have it, it must have been. Yes, it is part of the evaluation materials. According to the information from the State Register of Population, you were not officially married at that time. Do you confirm that? I confirm. Please explain this comment on being married in your application. Well, that's why I'm surprised. Probably I signed a blank form that the City Hall gave me after that, when that land plot was announced. But as I mentioned in my answers, and I provided the request of my former chief prosecutor, so that the land plot would be assigned to me under the Law on Prosecution Service, so that I would have an improvement to the living conditions. Because at that time, housing or like apartments or houses were not available. I asked for the land plot, and as I talked to my parents about building a house for myself there, but since also at that period of time
era în viață, adică au devenit careva probleme. Deci,
Haven't died. Well, issues happened and priorities changed. As you see, I worked in Dondușeni, in Drochia, in Chișinău, in Nisporeni. I mean, my entire career was moving around with my suitcases. So currently I don't need that land plot, and I can concede it back to the city hall, or it can give it to whomever they want. But you never made any comment about it. This paragraph about family and marriage is a typed, is printed. It is a printed blank form that you filled out, but you didn't make any reference to the fact that actually you are not married. And from a legal point of view, you are not married. Well, most likely I provided a copy of the ID, and at that time, if I'm not mistaken, there should have been a stamp of being married to someone or not married, if I remember correctly. But why? Why didn't you make any comment about that? Why did you leave that application filled out the way it was, and you were aware at that time, having experience, because you were understanding that that information was inaccurate as written in the application? I really don't remember, honestly. I don't remember. This has been a long time ago. I don't remember. The Commission obtained the decision of Drochia City Council from June 2011, approving the list of beneficiaries of land plots for construction of houses, which states under Article 11 of the Land Code, approved by Law Number 828 of the Second Parliament of 1991, and other legal provisions under which the list was approved. It's a very long list, over 200 people. I want to read Article 11, that the decision made reference to assignment of land plots from the built-up area for houses, auxiliary constructions and gardens. Public authorities shall issue to citizens land plots free of charge, issuing to them ownership titles, and they will receive land plots that where houses are located already and auxiliary constructions and gardens, and shall assign to new families land plots from the reserve of a built-up area until it is finished for construction of houses, auxiliary constructions and gardens, and the area set for rural or urban areas. Is this allocation of a land plot related to what is mentioned in that article? No, it would seem that not. I was from another category. I asked that land plot under the law on prosecution service. That's what I mentioned, and that's how I provided that application. In your application, no legal reason is mentioned. You will look at it in the evaluation case file, and you'll see. There is a reference to the law on prosecution service only in the application that your boss submitted, but that article made reference to housing, service housing, which is provided for a limited period of time according to the length of service of that prosecutor. Also, protocol minutes number 5 of the ordinary meeting of Drochia City Council of 30th of May 2011. There is a mention of item number 16 on approving the list of beneficiaries of land plots for construction of individual houses, which states that some councillors believe that not all beneficiaries included on the list, out of all files that were examined and included in the list, meet the conditions set in the regulations, and that the list was drafted in violation of the legislation in force. It was also mentioned that no land plot was registered with the cadastre. Still, later, on 2nd of June, that was a couple of days later, by voting for every person or family of applicants from that list of beneficiaries, that list was approved. Therefore, that list that was discussed in the meeting of the City Council under number 54, which is mentioned in the comment, that included your name and name of Madam Zaporojan Alina. This name will be masked in the hearing for the public. So there have been, the votes were 14 prone to abstained. Also, in the annex to the decision, under number 57, your name is mentioned, your date of birth, place of birth, residence, place of employment, and the name of a lady, Ms. Zaporojan, without any identification data. Also, in the title authenticating the ownership for that land plot that was issued to you in 2016, the right is only valid for you, not for the lady's name. Please confirm or deny this.
Despre care Alina merge vorba. Doar vă zic, eu nu am fost căsătorit și până în prezent nu sunt căsătorit. Și nu cunosc despre care Alina se vorbește. Eu pot să vă zic un lucru.
We're not getting any translation.
Oh, sorry.
That answer didn't get translated.
Sorry.
Puteți să repetați încă o dată ceea ce ați menționat.
Nu cunosc nici
I don't know any Alina.
mai mult decât atât cu familia
Moreover, anyone that would have a surname Zaporojan, my surname. I have never been married. I have never been civilly registered with anyone. I only remember that I was at the City Hall of Drochia, and there was such a video camera there as well. So I went there, and I took from a bowl. I picked the cadastral number. As you said, there have been several land plots, so I just randomly picked. So it was. I drew a number from there, and the gentleman took down the number, cadastral number. Was marriage one of the conditions for the allocation of land plots? I don't know. I'm repeating. I asked for this land plot under the law on prosecution service. My colleagues, some of my colleagues from the Drochia prosecution service got apartments. And given that there were no more apartments, it was agreed that whether it is possible for the parents to build, they gave us that land plot to build. We haven't built because, well, what happened in my family. Then who included that name there? I don't know. I don't know. Why? I mean, logically, why would I write someone there since I asked for that land plot for me, personally, under the law on prosecution service? Mr. Zaporojan, under the law on prosecution service, what provision exactly, what version of the law, under which article, do you remember, to be granted a land plot? It wasn't me who made that request, it was my boss, and there is a reference to that article, I don't remember. Is Article 38 about housing, actually? Yeah, probably, that's what I provided as an answer, that was the reference in that letter. But the law does not provide for assigning land plots, is that right? It says housing, but the City Hall did not have any housing, so I think there were two more colleagues of mine besides me, and they provided us land plots. If I'm not mistaken, someone built a house there and is living there.
Mr. Zaporojan, we've got some basic confusion here. Are you married?
Nu sunt căsătorit.
I am not married.
Have you ever been married?
Nu am fost.
I have never been married.
But you represented in legal documents that you were married. Isn't that true? You said you signed a form that said for the last 5 years, since getting married, my wife and I have not owned rental space. Didn't you?
That was a blank form that I signed, but I have not been married, I am not married, and I haven't mentioned erroneous and misstated data in that blank form or application, whatever it is.
Well, actually, you did make erroneous data. in that form, didn't you? You checked a box that was not factually accurate, didn't you?
M-am prezentat la primărie.
I went to the city
Și s-a
hall.
dat aceea am semnat.
I signed what they gave me quickly, and I left.
You're a prosecutor. You're responsible for reading this stuff. You can't just say, I don't know what I signed, or that I signed things that I took no responsibility for. You were making a legal representation to acquire a benefit from the government, weren't you?
Iată acum eu constat.
Now,
că deja
I am
s-a comis
finding
o
that
greșeală.
a mistake was made.
Constat și era
I'm
obligatoriu să
finding that,
mă uit
and
mai atent ceea ce
it
semnez.
was
Dar,
mandatory for me
vă
to
repet,
take a closer look at
nu
what
s-a
I'm
făcut
signing,
cu
but again,
intenție,
it wasn't
cu rea
done with
intenție.
any bad intent.
Mă repet, am solicitat
Again, I
teren de la primărie,
requested a land plot from the city hall
am construit casă în baza legii
to
cu privire la
build a
procuratură.
house under the old law and prosecution service. Thank you. Are there any more questions? Saskia?
Questions? Okay. Mulțumim, domnul Zaporojan.
Thank you, Mr. Zaporojan, for your answers. Let's move to issue number 4. Purchased by your mother. Your mother purchasing an apartment in Nisporeni town. You know what apartment we are talking about? Yes, that's where I'm living right now. On 15th of October 2021, your mother purchased by a sale and purchase contract of a real estate in construction an apartment with an area of 83.45 square meters in Nisporeni on the respective street that you know. You have just confirmed that you are living in that apartment. That contract was signed by your mother and the manager of a construction company. Mr. Manager, well, you were asked about your relationship with that administrator or manager. According to section 3.1 of the contract, the total price of real estate was 50,070 euros, which was 1,004,484 lei on the date of signing the contract. Unfortunately, on December 14th, 2 months later, your mother passed away. According to the banking information gathered by the Commission, on 10th of November 2021 and 30th of December 2021, two payments were made for this apartment towards the construction company, both of them 41,000 lei. And in the second payment, it's mentioned that it's done under power of attorney number 2-8230 issued on 15th of October 2021. So that was issued on the date when the sale and purchase agreement was signed. That power of attorney was issued by your mother in your name, whereby she empowered you to manage her right of ownership over that apartment, the one mentioned here. In terms of filing documents, signing, taking the acceptance document, any other actions needed in relation to that good, making payments in financial institutions in her name regarding that property, registration of all necessary documentation for the right of ownership, including signing of documentation with service utilities provider for that apartment. According to your answer in the written communication with the Commission, and I quote, all amounts that I paid for the apartment in my mother's name were given to me by her. They are exactly the ones reflected in the bank transfers. I don't remember in what precise circumstances the amounts were given to me. Maybe when I was going to Drochia, or even in Nisporeni when she was often coming with my brother to check the repair works. Please confirm or deny. I confirm. Could you please tell us why would your mother need an apartment in a different city, in a different region, while she already had a house in a region where she has been living, working, or has been working for the most part of her life? Well, from the beginning, and I mentioned that in the answers, that apartment was meant for me from the beginning. Could you please explain, dedicated, what does that mean? Two brothers, two of us. My brother is married. At that time, if I'm not mistaken, he had one child. So, in a discussion in our family, the parents' home was left for him, but since so many years, as I said, I'm moving around with suitcases, my mother, like every caring mother, got involved with that mortgage with the possibility of paying for that apartment in installments, and she did that. After she died, that burden is on me. You shouldn't believe that this was hidden or to show someone else's name. No, I'm honest. That apartment was meant for me from the very beginning. My mother meant it for me, and I'm living there right now. She started repairs with my brother because my brother has financial possibility bigger than a prosecutor does, to say it so. And that was the purpose and the reason. Could you please tell us at what stage were the construction works in the block of flats in the month, year when your mother concluded the contract?
La ce etapă era? La nivelul
What stage was it at? Was it just the beginning? Was it halfway through? How far did they go with that? It was already built. At that time, I think that it was already even let out to people to live there, because the apartments, many of them hadn't been sold at the time, and to this day, some of them are just sitting idle without having been bought by anyone. So I and my mother figured out together, we decided what apartment fit best for the area or the floor. You just said that you went there with your mother to choose the apartment. Is that correct? So did the mother choose for herself, or did the mother choose for you, or did you choose for yourself? We decided together, but the apartment was meant for me. So in that situation, my opinion mattered as well, because I would like to stay, for instance, at the 6th floor, not the 1st floor, because there's not enough light when you're the 1st floor. And at the time when this agreement was entered into regarding the apartment, and until the unfortunate time that your mother passed away. In that period of time, how many works were performed in that apartment? If I remember right, that has begun a few months before my mother passed away. Those buildings were already declared operational, habitable. Do you mean renovations or some construction works inside? Is that correct? How did that happen if you hadn't bought it yet? Well, the agreement had not been entered to yet. The administrator was supposed to prepare some paperwork, and we were supposed to, my mother was supposed to go to the notaries, but until then we were allowed to go in and already start doing some works inside, like putting down, tearing down some walls, or putting some plasters on the walls. But can you tell us what was the explanation of the administrator? First of all, as you've stated, the block was already declared habitable, but to enter into an agreement and to make multiple payments, it's not like there were 2 or 3 installments only, but multiple payments, as you can also see out of a document in this regard. So for an asset, if the asset is already ready, usually it's just a couple of installments only or the entire payment. How many payments were there? We haven't even paid half of what is due for this apartment, so you haven't paid up the amount yet. Every month we've agreed with the administrator, actually, that every month we'd be making payments, and I can provide even evidence of that. Every month I'm transferring funds to the company, to the developer. The apartment hasn't been paid for in full. At this moment in time, not the entire amount was paid that is due for that apartment, but is registered under your name. Temporarily, I don't know. It turns out I'm not the owner. The owner is the company, the developer. So wait, the apartment that your mother has purchased, I am the heir of my mother as regards that apartment. Now, that apartment hasn't been paid for in full by my mother, so I took over these obligations towards the company, and you haven't honored it fully. I am doing that on the basis of my financial possibilities. That's what I wanted to clarify. Thank you. I meant that you are the owner because you've inherited it, but you've clarified that you haven't paid for it in full. According to the banking information that is available to the Commission, 2 payments were identified, 2 payments are under the agreement made by the administrator of the developer. On the 1st of February 2022, that is after your mother has passed away, and on the 15th of March 2022, the amount is 40,998 lei, and the other payment in the amount of 40,260 lei. In your answer to the Commission regarding the payments made by the administrator for the apartment bought by your mother, you've stated that your mother was free to act in any way that she saw fit and in whatever way she liked. She was even able to meet the administrator of the company and to hand over the money for the department and do that via you. And that I quoted you, and I continue to quote you, that you said that she would often go to Nisporeni with a brother to check the repairs and how things were going in the apartment. How often would that happen? Well, that would happen often. The workers who were doing those works, they were contracted by my mother and my brother. They're from Droki, from a village from Droki, and a relative of ours, 2 or 3 persons. So they would often go there. They would bring along construction materials too. So, can you tell us who handed over the money to the administrator for those funds to be regarded as payment for the apartment, given that they have happened 2 or 3 months after your mother has passed away, in February and March? So the administrator paid on behalf of the mother the amount of, well, more than 40,000 for one payment, and then the second one also above 40,000 lei. Who handed over the money? It was perhaps me. I don't know. I can't remember very well in terms of the time exactly what happened when. But what is my answer? What is the answer that I have provided? Your answer? Or the one that I provided in writing. So let me read out. You've stated that your mother had the right to meet whoever she wanted and to hand over money, including to that gentleman, for the apartment, or she could have done that via you. You stated that she'd often go to Nisporeni to check on how the refurbishment works were going. So I just asked you where the money came from, who made those transfers, given that the payments that I've mentioned happened 2 or 3 months after your mother had passed away. The money was certainly not mine. Even if I passed it on, that was the money of my mother. But it was not my money. So let me put it like this. After my mother has passed away, all the business, everything related to inheritance, the household duties, so on and so forth, whatever money was left, my brother dealt with that. He managed all that. He took care of all of that. So I cannot exclude, I'm not sure though, but there is a likelihood that he gave me that money from what was left after my mother passed away. So there is a likelihood, but I cannot say with certainty, but it's likely that was the case. In your answer to the Commission, because we sought an answer, we sought information from the administrator, he stated that he knew no one from your family members, and when asked about the conditions, circumstances, and how the funds were transferred to him, he stated that your mother went to the office to pay, and because she felt ill, and there was a long queue in the bank, but actually the company doesn't use cash, only bank transfer. So what do you think, what the administrator said? Is it true that your mother went there to hand over the money? Because this has happened before she had passed away. Did she? Do you think he kept the money for to only pay 2 or 3 months after she passed away? So does he know anyone? Well, he stated he didn't know anyone in the family, but then he stated that the mother handed him the money over. But he knows me and my brother, and he knew my mother. And still, why do you think the administrator was the one to make those payments, and not you, not your brother? Why was it the administrator? I don't know. Now, with regards to the subsequent payments for the apartment, given the division of in the inheritance. So all of the other payments are made by me, and I can confirm this by the proof of bank transfers. Did you also pay cash? Did you also give cash to the developer? No, I've only made transfers. Understood. In the written communication with the Commission, you've mentioned that from the very beginning that apartment was meant for you, and you've also confirmed those statements now at this hearing. You've confirmed this. You and your brother were aware of the situation. You've had a discussion at home, and it was agreed that the parental, so to speak, the house where you grew up would be your brother's, and you would get this apartment. Now, according to the declarations that you filed, you've reported for 2019 a donation from your mother, 5,000 euros. In 2020, a donation of 5,500 euros, and in 2021, a donation of 344,000 Moldovan lei. Can you confirm or deny this? I confirm this. What was the income of your mother in 2021, given that she's got herself involved with that mortgage, as you stated, and she's also donated those amounts to you? Now, I wasn't aware of my mother's accounting affairs, but certainly she had enough funds to help me out. I tried as much as I could, and as much as I managed, and as much as I was able to know with my brother's support, I tried to seek and find all the pieces of evidence I was capable of. I went to Soroka, and I took a bank statement for the raw materials that were delivered to that company, and I've also taken a certificate from the National Food Safety Agency. I've looked up for those certificates that showed how many, the size of the livestock and how many were there at the farm. What about the cattle farm? What has happened to that? When was it liquidated? The cattle was sold. When was that? I can't remember very well, but not long before she passed away. So the amount that was reported for 2021, 344,000 lei donation from your mother, is that out of the proceeds from the sale of the farm? Yes, from the sale of the cattle. And I've also provided some notes. I've mentioned the person who bought some of the cattle. And I've also named another person from a slaughterhouse in Drokia. And as far as I can remember, I mean, out of what my brother told me, I didn't know, but that particular place that the livestock went to, and some proceeds were taken from that place too. And then she's also sold, I've already mentioned. Yes, you stated that she was earning funds out of that, but once the farm was liquidated, the resources reduced, so to speak, or was she involved in other businesses as well? Not outside of, it was only the cattle farm. Now, as for the donations that were being made over those 3 years, those donations, were they meant to be used to pay the installments for that apartment in Chișinău? I can't remember, but that might have been likely. I remember the 5,500 euros. I don't remember the year, but this amount. Only now I remember that money that came out, that was proceeds out of the sale of that car that I was using, the one that you've asked me about. So that money was given to me by my mother. And your mother was giving donations like this to you only, or to your brother too? To my brother too. I think maybe she's donated to him more than to me, and she took good care of my brother too. Yet could you explain, wouldn't it have been easier for you to have the sale and purchase agreement for the apartment in Estonia that your mother had bought? Wouldn't it have been easier for you to be that agreement, and for your mother to just donate you funds periodically that you would report in your declaration of assets and personal interests? Wouldn't that have been easier? You would have shown the money, the source, the asset would have been in your name, and your mother didn't have to go through the struggle of traveling from Nisporin to Drochia to check on how the repairs works are going. That was her decision, you know. And the example that you've just provided, maybe that would have made sense too, but it was her decision and there was no way for me to persuade her to do otherwise. It was her money. I couldn't have decided, I couldn't have told her, Mom, why don't you transfer the house over to me? I mean, maybe, for instance, if I ever got married, she could have donated that to me on that occasion if she was still alive. But then you've had that agreement for the apartment in 2019 in Chisinau, and then in 2021 your mother entered into the agreement for an asset that was meant to you, so the beneficial owner at the end of the day was you. Is there a link, a connection between these two cases? Is there anything there that persuaded you not to have the agreement in your name from the very beginning? I didn't get your question. You mean that apartment in Nisporin? Yes. Can you repeat the question, please? In 2019, you've entered into that sale and purchase agreement regarding that asset under construction, specifically the apartment in Chisinau. That was happening in 2019. Do you remember that? In November. In 2021, that is 2 years later, your mother has entered into another agreement for another asset for you that was meant for you. Is there a connection between these two? Why wasn't this agreement in your name to begin with? There is no link between them. I would like to explain. My greatest accomplishment in 22 years of work is for the third time that I'm saying. I've always been carrying bags with me and luggage with me. I've never had my place to stay, and that apartment in Chisinau is an apartment that I've paid for with my own money from loans and savings and everything that I could have ever saved. We're not discussing the source of funds already. You have provided us evidence regarding the source of funds, and you provided us evidence for that. We are just wonder what happened with this. It's not a way to camouflage anything. I've already stated that, and I'm open and transparent. That apartment in Nisporin was meant from the very beginning to be mine. We've had a discussion at home, and the house where we grew up was meant to be of my brother's. He was married, and he was staying there, and he stays there to this moment. He's living there. And at that time, since there was the possibility to engage in this mortgage, that apartment was decided on. At that time, I still had about 3-4 years to work under that term that was in force at that time for Nisporin. So in this period of time, in 2021, when that apartment was purchased, you also had social housing in Nisporin in your possession and yours. Is that correct? When I moved to the apartment where I'm staying now, my mother's, that is, that I've inherited, I've lived there, and then I've immediately sent it back over to the local public administration. At the time that your mother entered into a sale and purchase agreement, at that time you had in possession and use social housing too. Is that right? Yes. But I was not living in that apartment because it was not in an inhabitable condition. This was it from me. Do you have any other questions? I'm asking the other members of the Commission.
Anyone else on the Commission want to jump in here? Okay, Virginia, continue.
Okay. O să trecem atunci la subiect.
We'll be moving on then to the issue before last, obtaining social housing for use. The social housing is in Nisporin and has been used from 2018 through 2023 as per the documentation shared with the Commission. On the 28th of March 2016, you've started working in the Nisporin District Prosecutor's Office as prosecutor, and you were then promoted to the position of Chief Prosecutor of that Prosecutor's Office, and you've been working there to this day. You're working there. On the 3rd of July 2018, as Chief Prosecutor of Nisporin Prosecutor's Office, you've sought the Nisporin District Council for them to identify a solution in order for housing to be found for you for as long as you have the term of a prosecutor, for as long as you are working as a prosecutor. But you, however, have not referred or made any reference to any legal grounds that would support that request. In 2018 already, the law on the Public Prosecution Service of 2016 was already in force. In the minutes of the committee that was dealing with such applications for social housing, so there was the minutes of the 4th of July 2018. At that meeting, they've looked into your application. The president of the district of Nisporen mentioned that you've asked the council about the possibility to grant to you an apartment because you didn't have a place to stay, to live. The secretary of that committee proposed, the commission proposed that in an extraordinary meeting on a different date, on the 13th of July 2018, so it was proposed to grant you an apartment at that meeting until other applications would be coming in that would be in line with the criteria of the regulation, because the applicant was a person with an important position in the district. That is an excerpt from the minutes of that meeting. Can you confirm or deny this? I confirm that I've applied with the district council and I've asked for a place to live to be assigned to me. But before that, I went to the mayor's office of Nisporen because the mayor, the former mayor, well, he had said that there was an apartment that could be given to me, could be rented out to me. But something didn't work out. I was given a certificate. I showed it to the district council, and there were 2 or 3 blocks that were built for social housing purposes. It's apartments, right? It's not a house, because you're saying house, but it's a block of flats. That is correct, 3 blocks of apartments. As far as I know, that those were meant for young professionals, and currently there are police officers living there, consultants living there, and other categories. I don't want to name them all because I think that would not be right for me to do it. I paid for that car the biggest monthly amount because it was calculated, what I was due was calculated on the basis of my monthly salary. Well, we will get to that too. I wanted to ask you, so in March 2016, you moved to Nisporen, where you took office. Before you got that housing in 2018, before that, where have you been living until that time? I've lived for a while in Chisinau with a friend. He too was renting out an apartment, and I would commute every day Nisporen, Chisinau. Yes, 80 kilometers one way only, was 80 kilometers. What was the reason, what was the de jure reason or substantiation for that application? Well, it's very risky to have to travel 160 kilometers every day. That is very risky. And now there's the same situation. I have a colleague who's commuting like this, Chisinau to Nisporen and then back. And nobody cares about his fate. Nobody's thinking of giving him a place to live in Nisporen. And then another colleague of mine lives in Ongeni. So that is a risk. I mean, having to drive so much, you're exposing yourself to the risk. So that was as a ground for me to apply to the local administration. And what is more, in a discussion that I've had with the previous president of the district, I've asked about the availability of any apartments, if there's any available, if there's anything he can find that maybe they could be made available to these colleagues. Now, this need to get an apartment, was it mostly based on financial factors or on factors of a different nature as well? What do you mean by financial nature? Was it expensive for you to find a place to live in Nisporen? Yes, that is very difficult. Why is it difficult? It is difficult because people don't really rent apartments, houses out there. But did you take any measures to look for one? As for looking for one, well, I was new there. I knew no one in the district at all. I did not have even, for instance, a classmate staying there. So who I usually work with the most? With police officers. So I asked one, two, and then the second, the third one about who's been living where, or for instance, look, I know someone who had this apartment, but they live in Italy, but in summer they return here, so for summer you have to rent out somewhere else. So in Nisporeni, you've never rented out, is that correct? It's only this social housing apartment that was granted to you that you lived in, right? Yes, only there. In your answer regarding this social housing apartment that you were renting, you've mentioned that in 2018, over 2018 through 2023, you've been paying a month the amount of 1,179 lei, and that was calculated on the basis of your salary. I was not informed whether that apartment was social housing or not, quote unquote. And with certainty, that at the time when I was given that place to live, out of the 3 blocks of apartments, at that time there were many apartments that nobody applied for. In those apartments, several civil servants from Nisporeni are staying, and the local public administration of the district of Nisporeni never has raised an issue with that, never questioned that, and there was nothing was really raised, not even in the journalistic investigations in the media. There was an audit performed by the Court of Accounts. We too have received that report, and the report stated that it was established in violation of item 4 of the regulation and in violation of the purpose of the project. So there is a commission of the Nisporeni District Council, the one that was dealing with this distribution of social housing apartments. In 2018, that commission has distributed, as a matter of exception, 5 social housing apartments to civil servants in managerial positions from budgetary institutions at the district, though they were not eligible, but they were granted that on the basis of criteria such as income and on the basis of whether they had or didn't have immovable assets. And according to the regulation that was approved by the district council on the basis of the criteria of a project, all categories of beneficiaries of social housing apartments, as per item 3 of the regulation, they need to meet certain mandatory conditions, among which, so 2 have to do with eligibility. Every beneficiary household must have an income that is smaller or equal to the threshold adopted by decision of the local council that is calculated on the basis of a formula that was actually amounting to 4,612 lei. And the second one is that family members, spouse, children, or other dependents needed not to have owned a place to live, real estate property in Moldova or abroad, construction land or land with other purpose, or a detached house, and they also must not have sold housing or a place to live, an apartment, a house in Moldova over the last 5 years. According to the information available to the Commission, as at July 2018, at that time you had 11 properties, including farmland and one that was meant for the construction of a private house, a detached house, and you've also, and your income for 2018-2020 reached the amount of 829,300 lei. Although in the report of the Court of Accounts, it is also stated that you had actually more properties than that, but I guess they had some calculations made as of the date on when that report was drafted. At the date when you applied for that housing, for that apartment, or later in discussions, have you been informed by the local authorities with regards to the eligibility criteria? I was not informed. What is more, when I've entered into that agreement, I was asked to provide some documents. I can't remember which ones. If I'm not mistaken, there was something from the Public Services Agency that I've submitted, proof of the fact that I didn't have real estate, in the district of Nisporeni, and I've showed some other documentation to it, and I think that set of documentation is to be with the district council now. I was not informed. What is more, as far as I know, out of what I was told, having had the discussion with the former president of the district, those apartment blocks, for those apartment blocks, the funds were contracted or were taken from some external, there were some external funds, I'm not sure, and on a monthly basis, the district council was paying that loan. Out of discussions, it was not that many apartments were, I don't know now, but at that time a lot of apartments were empty, and they were So this information that you're sharing with us now, are these your suppositions, or do you have some precise data? And well, that is out of a discussion that I've had with the previous, with the president of the district who was in office at that time. So there are many empty apartments, but they needed to get the money from somewhere because the authorities needed to discharge their pecuniary obligations, as in they had to pay back that foreign loan. So that external loan. But given the discussions you've had with the public officials, with the people from the district council who are in charge of addressing this situation, this issue, they perhaps use the term social housing. Didn't this make you wonder about it? Would it be appropriate for a prosecutor to use social housing? Well, those blocks of apartments, they were saying that they are for young professionals from working in the hospital, working for the police, in the prosecutor's office, other entities that operate in the district of Nisporeni. And when the issue was raised, I was given that apartment. But did you ever try to look into that on your own? Did you try to find out more about it? This is public information. And regarding, for instance, did you look up the eligibility criteria related to social housing, just to make sure that in the eyes of the society that you have more credibility in the eyes of the society of Nisporeni, and that this would not be perceived, regarded as abuse by people working in public service? I did not even think that I was doing anything illegal by applying for an apartment that I am paying for at the end of the day. And then I, too, am serving the Republic of Moldova, same as other civil servants that to this day are still living there without any worry whatsoever. I haven't lived there for free. I've discharged all my contractual obligations. I handed it over back to them when it was found out that there are beneficiaries who needed that apartment. I gave it back to the authorities, that was all. Did you participate in that meeting at which, yes, I participated, that meeting of the commission, I mean? Yes, I participated in the meeting of the commission, not in the meeting of the district council, though, but in the meeting of that commission.
Didn't it raise questions for you that not meeting certain eligibility conditions would be a legal ground for certain consequences? I couldn't have known about it. I'm repeating, what's the status of those buildings? For what category of people they were meant? I understand. According to the information available to the Commission, the lease agreement for that social housing was concluded on 6th of November 2018 with a monthly payment established, and you said it was the highest. It was calculated based on your job salary for that apartment with an area of 36 square meters. It had to be paid not later than the 10th of the next month. You also asked for a termination of agreement on 1st of September 2023. And in your answer to the Commission, you mentioned that I did not commit any abuse of my position, I didn't cause any damage, I was a good faith lessee, and I met all the requirements set by the lease agreement. Could you please tell us, since the meeting during which this apartment was allocated to you took place in July, the contract was concluded in November. Why the delay? I don't remember. And during that period of time, July to November, you were still traveling back and forth to Chișinău, Nisporeni? Probably. Maybe I was preparing somehow. So when did you start living in that apartment actually? When I signed the contract, probably. If we take 1 minute break and you try to recall, I don't want to give a mistaken answer and mislead you. But what was the reason why you asked for termination of agreement on the 1st of September 2023? I moved to the apartment where I am living now. So it was out of your own need, your initiative, or did the Commission ask? The Commission also asked, and there was a coincidence of circumstances, so I moved into that apartment, my mother's. The District Council provided us with a schedule of payments made for the lease of that apartment with the monthly calculation for every month, and starting in November for 2018, you have not made any payment. In 2019, the first payment was made in July. That was 2,400. The second amount was paid in November, 2,358 lei. And the monthly or almost monthly payments can be seen in 2021. And in 2021, you paid only in January an amount of 1,800 lei, and in 2022, you made only one payment in October in the amount of 5,635 lei. You have this document in your documents in the evaluation file, and you made one payment in May 2023, 5,000 lei, and the last payment was in 2024 in June in an amount of 8,030 lei. Looking back, since in July 2019 you made only one payment, and in November, can we draw a connection about you living or not living in that apartment at that time, or you were not actually a good person leasing that apartment? But the money meant for monthly payment of apartment, I had them, I kept them. My only problem was that I was not going to make the payments monthly. I was putting it somewhere, keeping it and paying it, but sometimes. Certainly, I also talked to that lady responsible for this from the district council if I have any outstanding debt, and she said no. I paid the last amount, 3,000 something or 5,000 lei. Also, we have some information about payments for utilities related to that apartment, according to which for 2018, speaking of electricity and natural gas, you haven't made any payments since November 2018 until November 2019. Then we can see December 2019 with an amount of 7 lei 56 bani. In January 2020, the next month, 41 lei 58 bani. In February 2020, 32 lei 13 bani. In March, and then again an interruption. Very little or almost nothing. Also for the natural gas, starting in November 2018 until January 2020, you haven't made any payment. So when did you start living in that apartment? I lived in that apartment when I got it, but one circumstance that I want to mention. On Fridays after work, for years, I was going to my parents, to my mother. So Friday, Saturday and Sunday, that apartment was not inhabited. I understood that. To give more details, during that period of time, I was spending time at my girlfriend's place as well, you know. Thank you. No more questions. Maybe the other commission members have questions, so please do ask. In this case, let's move to the last topic for today's hearing, and that is use of your mother's banking card prior to her death and after it. Having gathered and analyzed bank information, it was found out that your mother has a bank account with a card attached to it, opened with OTP Bank, and it continues to be active after her death. So, since January 2022 and to this day, there were incoming payments amounting 33,670 lei and outgoing amounts in outgoing transactions in the amount of 33,997 lei. In the written communication with the Commission, you asked who is the user of that card and why the account wasn't closed, and you said that it's probably your brother using that card when that is needed, and you don't know why the bank hasn't closed it, since the bank has information from a public services agency. Please confirm or deny. I confirm that answer. Your brother and your sister-in-law, have they been or are they currently declarants under the law 133 on declaration of assets and personal interests? No, they have never been. The Commission analyzed the bank statements. We're talking about the bank with the account that was mentioned, and compared it to your and your brother's bank statements. And according to the payments made in a bank by means of a bank card that you have, it's commented that on the road to Nisporeni, Rochia, Chișinău, daily or weekly, there were frequent purchases like buying fuel in gas stations located in those communities. Also, there were some similarities in terms of payment, such as payment at the canteen in Nisporeni that was nearby the prosecutor's office. Also, payments at the gas stations on your daily or weekly route from various bank accounts, yours and your mother's and your brother's, that we will highlight later. For instance, from the mother's bank account, payments were made on 18th of December 2019, 18th of July 2020, 21st of July 2020, 20th November 2020, 31st of July 2021 to this company, owning the canteen and the food shop in Nisporeni. Also, in 2019 to 2022, several transactions for making payments in various places in Nisporeni, as well as withdrawals from ATMs located in Nisporeni, in total amount of 25,221 lei. This calculation is only about Nisporeni region. That included that on 14th of January 2021, 1 month after your mother's death, the amount of 5,000 lei was withdrawn from an ATM in Nisporeni. Also, before the withdrawal of that amount, on 12th of January 2022, a request to replenish the card was registered, and it shows your brother's identity card number that was for the period 3rd of November 2015 to 11th of September 2035. Do you know anything about that request? Was it my brother who replenished, who put the money? Yes, that was mentioned. It was not that he put money on the account, but he filed a request. A request for what? To replenish, a request to replenish the account for a period of almost 20 years. Probably. In 2023, that account, your mother's account, was supplemented 4 times with a total amount of 9,000 lei. How do you explain the use of that account? I have never topped up that bank card. In the discussions after I provided you an answer, I talked to my brother and he confirmed that he replenished the account once or twice. Also explained that his bank card was not there, and one time also when we traveled abroad for treatment, and then he topped up that card and he made some payments using that card. But I want to mention, in the period when the mother was alive, that card was often in my possession. I was withdrawing money to make some purchases that my mother was asking me to do. Well, it can't be excluded that I also paid for the gas, as you were saying, 10, 20 liters or even more. Before or after her death as well? After her death, the card was with my brother. It's still with my brother's. I just want to understand correctly. You mentioned that you sometimes had that you were withdrawing money, making purchases for your mother? Yes, for instance, shopping for Christmas purposes. Like, okay, an example. My mother was telling me what I had to buy, and when I was coming back, I told you, every Friday I would go home. So I was going to a shop first, making all the shopping and bringing it home. I just want to understand. Your mother was in Drochia. Yes, she was in Drochia. And weekly, I was going weekly home to Drochia. Currently as well, weekly, I'm going home. I don't think there had been an exception in all these 8 or 9 years since I've been living in Nisporeni. Just want to understand. Your mother was in Drochia. You were living in Nisporeni. The card was with you in Nisporeni, and when you were going home, you were making the shopping? Not always. The card was not always with me. My mother had the card, but sometimes she gave it to me to do some shopping. To buy things even in Nisporeni? Yes. There are shops in Nisporeni as well. So then it was... the card was with you or with your mother in Nisporeni? Before my mother's death. I'm not excluding that the card belonging to my mother, issued by the bank, Mobias Bank, was with me. My mother in Drochia would give it to me to buy certain things, and then I would give it back to her. And I don't exclude the fact that I used it to buy food at the canteen, like 100, 250 lei. I can't exclude it, including the canteen that's by the Prosecution Service Office. It is possible, but it's also possible that my mother was visiting and she came to eat at the canteen. I don't want to lie. I'm not categorically. I'm not saying that I have never used, certainly not used. I'm just saying in what cases it could have happened. Also, according to the information that you provided to the Commission for the period 2023, you had 3 trips abroad for leisure purposes. In February 2023, you traveled to Hungary, and according to the bank statements, we can see the following. Between 17th and 28th of February 2023, in the bank card, your bank card, we can see several banking transactions registered, supplementing the account 3,376 lei, several payments for purchases, most of them made in Hungary, payments in various shops, hotel, spa purposes, and so on, in total amount of 6,462 lei. That money was put, so that were the amounts put on your account and withdrawn from your amount in that account. Also, in that period of time, we can see bank transactions on your mother's banking card, strictly in that period when you were in Hungary. On 17th of February 2023, the bank card mother's bank card was supplemented with the amount of 6,970 lei, and during the period of 17th to 27th February, purchases made in Romania and Hungary were paid for in the amount of 5,786 lei. Probably yes. How do you explain that information and the use of bank cards, yours and your mother's, in Hungary? Please take a look that exactly in the same period of time, my brother was there. We were traveling together. It wasn't only me using both cards. My brother was there as well in the same period. And every time, so we are traveling together. And your brother has bank accounts too. I believe so. Do you believe so, or do you certainly know about it? Well, he has some activity, which means he should have. Well, if he has an activity that is much more profitable than the activity of a prosecutor, given the remuneration, would he need your mother's bank card? I told him what he was saying. He forgot his card. No, you did not say that before. You are saying it now that he forgot it at home. I asked him after I filled out the declaration that I submitted to you. I asked him how did that happen, and he said I probably forgot the card at home and I put money on mom's account.
La ce bun, logic, o deducție
I
logică,
mean,
ce bun
to
i-a
think
dat
logically,
dânsul
why
5.000
would
de
he
lei
need
pe
to
card
put
când
5,000 lei on a
dânsul
card when
gestionează o
he's
activitate de
managing
câteva zeci de milioane
a
de
business
lei
of
pe an?
10, some like dozens, millions lei a year? Doesn't make sense. So who was using the card, you or him? That card was used by my brother, Ion Zaporojan. You can check that he was with me. So we were traveling together. We went together and so we travel yearly there for a vacation. In July 2023, you traveled to Greece, in June 2023, sorry. In the period 19th of June, 30th of June, 3 operations were registered on your bank card. On 19th of June, the card was supplemented with 3,579 lei, and on the 23rd and 30th of June, 2 payments in the amount of 145 and 146 lei. Also, in your mother's bank account, the following transactions were registered. On 16th of June 2023, it was supplemented twice, 409,300. In the same period of time of your vacation in Greece, payment for shopping in the amount of 9,618 lei. Could you please confirm or deny? Was this my personal card, salary card? MAIB. Mine was supplemented. Yes, your card was supplemented in the period when I was in Greece, before you left for Greece. I paid for it. I supplemented. What about your mother's card that was supplemented in the same time, and the money, 9,600 lei, was used in Greece? Probably my brother gave it to me to do some shopping. Well, not probably, certainly I did some shopping for him. You use it. If you are saying that it's that card, it may be possible. We are speaking about one of your accounts at MAIB and your mother's account with OTP. I want to say that we had to travel together with my brother at that time as well. But my sister-in-law was pregnant and she had some health issues. They gave up last minute to go. And I went with one of their godchildren with their car, not to lose the booking. So this card was used in Greece by you. If you are saying, I believe you, I trust you, I don't have any doubt. I don't have any doubt. I think he gave it to me and I bought some things for him there. In August 2023, you traveled to Romania, again, a vacation. Between 14th August, 21st of August 2023, several expenses were made in the locations where you visited, so various operations, purchases in the amount of 3,750 lei. At the same time, during that period of time, in your mother's bank account, the following operations or transactions were registered on 11th of August before leaving. The account was supplemented with 3,000 lei, and during 12th of August to 16th of August, various payments were made to traders in the region where you were on vacation in the total amount of 3,064 lei. Please confirm or deny. When it comes to my salary account, I confirm I supplemented it and you used it. Yes, I have used it. What about your mother's card? I don't know. But again, most likely, my brother was with me on that trip with his family, so he must have used it. Your brother was with you on that trip? Yeah, because we usually travel together. And on one of his cards, 2 amounts were one 10,000 and one 15,000 lei, both of them as salary for the month of July and August. And according to the bank statements, we see purchases in Romania from your brother's bank card in a total amount of 23,844. I have no answer to that, probably. So did he have a bigger need, like he had those amounts and he paid for purchases with his card? Probably he needed. He has 2 children. Did he need to pay for services from your mother's bank card? Probably he needed it. Mother's, he supplemented mother's account and in Moldova and used it in Romania, or the money was already there. We are talking about all these payments made in the countries where you were on vacation. So before leaving, the accounts were topped up. Mother's card, yours, your brother's, and then we were talking about amounts spent in those locations from all. I used my personal salary card. So you didn't use your mother's card in Romania? No, I haven't. Certainly, I haven't used it. I have no more questions, if I may. Clarification. Is your brother living in Droghea with his family or in Nisporeni? My brother lives in Mândic village, Droghea district, and his main activity is happening there in the district, or it is in a nearby place, but is it in Droghea district? I think the company is registered on his residence address. I'm not speaking about address. I'm asking where he works every day. It's village Shui, Droghea district. And his wife, family member, his family, also working in Droghea district. Yes, they're working together. How often does your brother... Well, on weekends we understood you are going to Droghea, but on business, on working days, since he has a business in Droghea district, how often was he visiting you after your mother passed away? How often was he visiting you in Nisporeni? Very often? Well, give or take, twice a week, once a week. He's even now in Chișinău. Well, in Chișinău I understand. I'm speaking about Nisporeni. He comes to Chișinău and then he passes through Nisporeni. Or he comes to Nisporeni, leaves me something, some food stuff, and then moves on. I mean, are we talking weekly, monthly, twice a week, once a week, once in 6 months? I mean, give us some approximation. Let's say 3, 4, 5 times a month. Maybe less, maybe more. When did you find out that after your mother's death, your brother was using your mother's card? I found out about it when I received the questions from you and I formulated the answers, and I asked him when I went home. So you didn't know about it before? No. But now, when you confirmed 2 minutes ago that you used it in Greece after your mother's death, you confirmed it was you. Yes, I confirmed, and I do confirm. But you said that your brother gave you the card to buy something for him. But the owner's name, card holder's name is written on the card, and you as a prosecutor know very well the rules of what happens to a card after the death of a person. So I have a question. Was the inheritance process to share the inheritance between you as brothers? Did it take place? Yes, it was done. Then how do you explain that? The card account was not included in the inheritance process because the notary informs all banking institutions. So as soon as an inheritance case is opened, all accounts are prohibited for use. Probably it was an omission of a notary, but also an omission of ours. I did not know. Again, when my mother passed away, my brother had the card, so he managed all the procedures. Yes, but when you used it in Greece, did you know about it? Honestly, I don't even know what card he gave me. He gave me a card, I paid with it, that's all. I did not look at the name and surname on it, bank and so on. But have you ever topped that card up after your mother's death? No, never. Thank you, I have no more questions.
Are there any other questions from any other members of the commission at this time? Thank you, Mr. Zaporojan. At this point, we'd like to give you an opportunity to make a closing statement.
In conclusion, I would like to say that everything that I declared in all these 3 rounds of questions was true, only truth. I have nothing to hide in my work, in my life. I'm trying to be a transparent person, a correct and honest person. You realize in 22 years of work, it could be possible that I cross someone's path, including some criminals. So I believe that someone has some dissatisfaction or hate towards my professional work, but I repeat, as we Moldovans say, I always knew what my place under the sun was. I acted precisely in line with the law. I did not commit any abuse. I avoid situations of conflict, situations of uncertainty, and so on. If I was not convincing for you in some cases, I just want to say that my statements are honest and correct. To the extent possible, I tried to provide enough evidence that could help you make a conclusion about me, to pass me or not. That is what I want to say right now. This entire period of time, I want to tell you that it's not easy. It is stressful for a prosecutor to be waiting for half a year, but we are complying. We are ready to move on, and the decision is yours. Thank you very much for using your useful time to listen to me. And, well, whether it's necessary for me to provide any information, such as messages or other information, I am available to do it when you say it. Or, for instance, information about the apartment in Ciocana, about which I said, and I'm repeating it, I have never lived in that apartment, not a day. No one has lived in it. I don't have the keys of that apartment, and this can be checked easily. I don't know for what reason Moldova Gas or whoever provided you that information did that, but certainly this must have been some technical mistake. That's it. Thank you very much, and I wish you a good day ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Zaporojan. We thank you for your participation throughout the evaluation process and at the hearing. And I will add, we understand that it's a stressful process for you and for all of your colleagues. The Commission will now deliberate on this matter and issue a decision as soon as possible, and so the hearing is now closed.
Mulțumesc.